Good Monday evening, folks. Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandage is here with you on a tropical update focusing on Tropical Storm Francine that's well on its way of becoming our fourth hurricane of the season as it intensifies in the Gulf of Mexico, headed towards the Gulf Coast of the United States. Here's the latest on Francine. It continues to intensify. Right now, a higher-end tropical storm with sustained winds at 65 miles per hour. It won't be staying that way for much longer. It's on its way to becoming a Category 1, maybe even Category 2 hurricane, and it is a direct threat to the United States. East Texas and portions of Louisiana, the entire Louisiana coastline really under threat here. And the storm itself may overperform, become more intense than it's forecast to be as it heads towards Louisiana. And there are several factors in play that may allow that to happen. There are also factors that may keep it a little bit weaker. We're going to go through both. So here's a look at climatology. And when we typically see our sixth named storm of the season, which is Francine, that typically comes on around the end of August. So we're a little bit late on this. The season has been really quiet up until now. And by the way, we're not only talking about Francine, we've also got two other tropical waves out in the Atlantic that we'll talk about at the end of this video. But typically August 29th, here we are on September the 9th, seeing the sixth named system. So here's how it looks on satellite imagery. We're looking at infrared imagery here, telling us the temperatures of the cloud tops and why that's important. The colder the cloud tops, the more intense the thunderstorm or convection activity. The colder cloud tops are outlined by the white and pink shadings here, which you can see flaring on up on the northern side of Francine right now, the center being right here. So we are seeing a little bit of a flare at this time. Here's the stats on it: 65 mile per hour winds, gusts to hurricane force. Moving to the north-northwest at 7, and pressure has slowly been coming down. It's the Saffir-Simpson scale here to gauge the strength of a hurricane. It's not there yet, but it will be on its way to a Cat 1 or even a Cat 2. Now, here's one of the factors that may come into play that'll stunt it from becoming as strong as forecast to be, and that's some dry air that's lurking to the north. We've got a frontal boundary that's pretty much all along the Gulf Coast. The rust color here, the yellows, the oranges, that's extremely dry air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. When we see an intensifying tropical system, it tends to sometimes wrap some of that dry air into the circulation and choke it off. It's like a stuttering engine. If that was to happen here, there's plenty of it. That would help to weaken it and maybe plateau the system before it makes landfall. So that would be a good thing if it ingests some dry air. But that's a big but, because we don't know if that'll definitely happen. We're going to need some wind shear to kick on in from the southwest to kind of drive some of that dry air in, and some models do indicate that. So I'll put that out there. But what's helping it to intensify really in the short term here is the record warm sea surface temperatures. We've been talking about this all season, and once we got something going, we knew that it would take hold because of how warm the water is. Plenty of fuel here for these systems. You need 80-degree water or warmer. Certainly have that in and around its immediate area at this time. Even on its forecast track to the north, we still have warm waters, not as warm as it is right now down to the south, but still well north of the 80-degree water you need. Plus, it's warm water at the surface, but it also goes down to a depth. This is ocean heat content, and you can see here, this is going to be the window pretty much from here south of it rapidly intensifying, if it does at all, because as it goes farther to the north, it's going to run in a still warm water, but not as deep. And what comes into play there is something called upwelling. The storm system is whipping up the waters on the sea surface, so it's mixing up the ocean waters. And when it mixes up all the warm water at the surface down below, it pulls up cooler water. So it's self-limiting there when it gets into an area of not as deep warm water. Certainly more plentiful off to the south there. So that's another factor we'll watch carefully. Here's the official track from the National Hurricane Center. As of the 5 o'clock advisory track, these are the 8 o'clock stats here, and at landfall potentially by Wednesday afternoon. We're looking at a potential landfall location anywhere from far east Texas, or Cameron Parish in Louisiana, over into Vermilion, over into Iberia, over into St. Mary, maybe even to Terrebonne Parish. Could potentially see a landfall here, but keep in mind, anywhere east of that center, we'll see the highest storm surge and the strongest winds, because the onshore winds here will pile up that water. And there is the storm surge forecast of 5 to 10 feet anywhere to the east of that storm track there. 100 mile per hour winds at landfall possible, which would put it as a Category 2 hurricane. Moves inland over land, loses its fuel source, rapidly decays. We're down to a tropical depression as early as Thursday afternoon, and then it tracks up the Mississippi River Valley, spreading moisture into the southeastern United States. And that'll be the end of that. But up until then, certainly a big threat, big impact event for Louisiana. How do the spaghetti plots see things here? Not too much of a spread, but again, still in play, Far East Texas, all of Louisiana, and over even into portions of Mississippi there. Some of these models put it there, but a pretty good scenario here showing it all within the cone of uncertainty. Here's how the model comparison is for the big models, the European and the American, the global models. You'll see the center of which here, the GFS being yellow, the red being the European. Watch as we go forward in time. It does have a discrepancy in terms of landfall timing. It is a little later than what the short-range high-res models are showing, which is like Wednesday afternoon. These are showing more so after sunset on Wednesday. I think it'll happen a little bit earlier than what these are showing, like more in line with the high-res. But you've got the European model here that's pretty much right near Iberia and over into Vermilion. And then you've got the American GFS that's more leaning towards St. Mary's and Terrebonne Parish there. But again, anywhere to the east, which New Orleans is going to see that onshore flow and the storm surge threat growing. Then it builds inland up towards Memphis and along the Mississippi River. The intensity forecast here does have it peaking right now. Again, it could overperform or underperform. But right now, the median range is around a Category 2. 100-mile-per-hour sustained winds, and that coming its way around Wednesday morning, so about 12 hours ahead of landfalls when it should peak, and then drastically weakening as we go into Thursday and Thursday night. Now let's talk impacts. We'll start with wind. Here's the system now. Again, it's a tropical storm, so anywhere you see the blue is tropical storm wind force, gusts 39 miles per hour or greater. But as we get closer to landfall, here we are at lunchtime on Wednesday. We've got wind gusts here getting up in over 80 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour, so certainly hurricane force gusts here. And again, anywhere to the east of the center, which this model is depicting here off to the west, you're going to have that storm surge threat of 5 to 10 feet possible. We move towards landfall, which could be around 3 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. Look at these wind gusts up in over 80, 85, close to 90 miles per hour. You're getting that onshore flow here. Storm surge really ramping up at that point, and then it moves inland, and we still see breezy conditions, wind shifting and rapidly weakening into Thursday morning. So the wind threat is certainly there. How about rainfall? Tropical systems bring a lot of rain, and thankfully this will be moving at a good clip and not slowing down upon landfall like we've seen happen before, but still, regardless, going to bring upwards of a foot of rain possible in some areas here, and that could be right along and even off to the north and west of the center of circulation here. All of that moisture coming on and converging and bringing about a flash flood threat. Now, as I mentioned, there's also 2 other waves we're watching out in the Atlantic. These are in the main development region, and you can kind of pick up where they are. One has been actually already tagged as Invest 92L. Remember what that means, an investigative area. 90 to 99 is just a number that we use for record keeping, and the L means that's in the Atlantic Basin. These chances of development have actually dropped for this one down to 40%. It was 60% earlier, but right on its heels is another wave that looks a little more robust. That's got a higher chance of developing here within the next 7 days. That's at a 70% chance. So the next 2 names on the list are Gordon and Helen, and then the dreaded I name. The I names are the most retired names, the I letter, of all of the list names there. So we'll see what comes around there, but still got Gordon and Helen to go. So we'll watch those carefully. Right now, computer models keep it way out in the open Atlantic for at least the next 5 to 8 days or so. So we'll watch it. If you've got any questions, we'll be here again tomorrow before the system makes landfall on Wednesday. Have another update on Francine, which will likely be a hurricane by then. But if you have any questions, Facebook, Instagram, X, or I'm also on TikTok. We'll see you again tomorrow.